Today we saw a continuation of some bad things happening on Friday that we were aware of, and thankfully we pointed those things out on Thursday. And I do apologize for the Sunday video not being there for you guys. I did have an update video for Sunday to get you guys the weekly expected moves, and I accidentally scheduled that out into Monday like some kind of idiot. So today we're going to be getting into some technical analysis. If you don't already have those weekly expected moves on your charts for the SPY and the Qs, we are going to go into that as well today. And it looks like we're kind of pointing towards one, and we might have tested the area that we wanted to get to for the SPY, but there is something that I want to be aware here of, and that is of a double dip. So let's get into it. So on Thursday, we did point out the dollar having the potential to reverse back around as we took back the 5. We pointed out the fact that the 10-year yield still has all of the divergences, and look at that starting to go positive. So these things can put a damper on the market. We're already seeing that as of right now, as we see some kind of a little battle here for negotiations for the overall tariffs, and we'll see how those things play out. But remember that the word of the year is confusion, and we're already seeing that all throughout 2025, and so I would expect more of this kind of behavior. If this behavior has been really ripping you apart and you need a better way to make decisions, well, that is something we're going to do. Because I did not put out the update video yesterday, I am leaving up the course sale for just a little bit longer. I'm literally leaving it up until midnight tonight. You got to get it while it lasts. Get it if it's up there. Click on the link down in the description and check if the sale is still there. You can get the full technical analysis course for just $100. It ends now and goes up to $400 tomorrow. So I apologize to kind of speed things up for you, but I'm leaving that sale live for a little bit because of my mistake. So I'm sorry about that. And a way to say sorry is to keep that sale going for just a tiny, tiny bit here. Now, what we want to be paying attention to is the most obvious thing is, what do we pay attention to? Well, the bigger time frame said continuation is the most likely scenario here. Volatility starting to turn up on the 2-hour. Looked like it had some more room to the upside, so we'll pay attention to it. If you need the weekly expected move, 614.06 to the upside and 589.58 to the downside. 590 is a very important level, and we saw those levels almost tagged today. Now the dollar, real quick, just a note about the dollar, by the way, because we could see that double dip. It's because the 2-hour is in such a positive trend that all it has to do is bounce off this 5, and we're ending up in the upward direction again for the dollar, suggesting that people might still be selling these assets and going into cash. So what we're looking for here is, one, to the bull side, can we turn up like this? Can we see the 2-hour actually cross back up into positive territory? That would significantly increase the odds of going to the top side weekly expected move. But as of right now, we are below the 5-day moving average. We're below the 9. So look for the double dip, right? If we get a double dip, those are great opportunities if they actually prove to be bases in some way. So going into a 30-minute chart now, I'm going to be focusing on the futures market. I mean, as the lit market starts to dwindle down and more dark pool activity or off exchange activity is what's dictating these moves, I will be paying attention to the futures market a little bit more, and we will go over that in the future or tomorrow during the live show. 605.10 to the upside for the daily expected move, 590.44 to the downside for the daily expected move. And just so you are aware, going into tomorrow, I know this video is kind of bouncing around. I have to make it a little bit quick. Tomorrow we do get the JOLTS job openings, not right away, not at 7:30, not before the market opens, but the market's going to open, and then 30 minutes later, you are going to get some kind of data, right? The JOLTS job opening. So we could see a reaction in some way and then see a different reaction 30 minutes later. So just be aware of that and ready to manage risk. As of right now, you see we have a huge amount of implied volatility going in tomorrow. Right now, we're heading in that upward direction. Hey, that's all fine. But this is a big range, so I would still expect this to potentially rip you around at least once intraday tomorrow, so we'll be paying attention. As of right now, I'm looking for possibly that double dip as we go into the bottom channel line, really looking for that double dip to say, yeah, like, yes, this is going to be a strong base here at this point, right? We were looking for the higher low to say, hey, this is a pretty good base. We make that attempt to go higher, but then we fail, right? We saw those other signals that say we fail. So right now we are looking at patience as the overall answer here, because we want to see if that 2-hour can cross up and hold it for 2 hours. But within that 2-hour bar is this 30 minutes, and we're going to get that JOLTS job openings. And so that can cause some disturbance in the market as implied volatility is higher for the SPY. The Qs, you're kind of looking for the same thing, right? We're testing the 5-day. Can we take that back, and do we give it back up after we get some data? That's going to be a big thing. If you need weekly expected moves, by the way, 536.89 to the upside. We do have 507.69 to the downside. We do have updated weekly expected moves on Patreon and monthly expected moves in yellow. We're not going to talk about those too much today because we're paying attention to these intraday, every day by day stuff. So let's look at these daily expected moves, though. In red, we have 526.60 to the upside and 509.62 to the downside. You have a ton of implied volatility for the Qs. I know we have some scattered little earnings throughout the week, but we can also read into, we get data. People are very hesitant around these tariffs. People are confused, right? So there is a bunch going on, and we're noticing when people make a decision, they really make a decision. I mean, you're seeing this market rip up, rip down, rip up, rip down. So I would not expect this to stop, and that is why the course is still up there until midnight tonight, so get it while it lasts. But the Qs right now, they have not confirmed a move up for the 30-minute. I'm going to be looking into the futures for this, but I will want you to pay attention if this makes a floor, but also if it doesn't, because at this point, on the daily chart, you are getting a daily cross down for the Qs. Now, this isn't true right now for the SPY, but you are getting it for the Qs. So you're going to want to get rid of these signals very, very fast. Now, as of today, that would mean for one of my rules, I can't take calls on the Qs, right? That's just one of my rules. If I see a daily MACD cross down, if daily momentum takes over, this could just flush through the floor. So I'm not willing to say, hey, is this some kind of ABC pattern for the Qs to go down to a monthly expected move? I think patience is the best thing that I can do at this exact moment. See if I see some kind of floor. My patience will reward me by giving me a potentially good setup, right? I don't want to take something that looks okay. I don't want to take something that looks decent. I want to take something that looks good, and patience can really help me in finding that kind of move. Apple giving us that potential head and shoulders look. We were right to call this out, right? We said this looks like the right shoulder that could have been, and now it's a little deep, but it's right down to where we want it to be. And if that 2 hour just confirms up, hey, that would be a very bullish thing. The bearish thing that could happen here, right? We're not trying to take too much time with this. We're trying to think simply, because overall we're practicing patience. If we want this 2 hour to curl up, and then we'll talk about the bearish thing, how about that? The 2 hour curls up, that'd be a good thing. Do we have any signals suggesting right now that the 2 hour is going to curl up? No, you don't. You really do not at this point, right? You would at least want to see something like this. Notice at this point, we did not have that MACD divergence, but we at least had it on the RSI. You want to see something in here that can give you a hint, whether that is a sporadic move to test the 5 and then we make a higher low, whether that is a sporadic move and then we end up turning down to create some kind of double bottom or divergence. That's what I'll be paying attention to from the 30-minute to see if that 2 hour move is going higher. If this is going to ending up going down in the downward direction, for more time here, like this was just some kind of dead cat bounce or something like that, well then this daily might cross down and you are getting a closure of the price action below the 9-day moving average, and that's kind of a big deal. You are getting this RSI very close to going through the signal line, so that's something to pay attention to. And then if that does happen, we'll still be paying attention to reversal signals down here, right? The game does not stop, right? The market does not really even sleep anymore, and it doesn't sleep anymore because everyone's doing things in dark pools these days. So if we keep it simple though, bearish thing would be if a daily crossed over, then we're going to test the low, go make a new one. If the 2 hour crosses up though, you might be completing a head and shoulders and ending up right back in this zone towards 250 for Apple. Tesla, and for Tesla, we were pointing out the fact that you could potentially have that head and shoulders if this 2 hour does cross. Now notice the 2 hour did cross. Now, what's the other thing we were stating about Tesla was if that 2 hour does cross and it's some kind of trap or trick, look for a quick little divergence right here. So you see that divergence popping up right now on the RSI and the MACD. Now you got to see if it's able to prove itself. If that's able to prove itself and turn up on this MACD, turn up on this RSI, see the price action get above the 5 and the 9, we can take out this high and maybe even go test higher levels. So that is something I'm paying attention to for this to get overall bullish and then make a series of higher lows. For the downside though, we're just noticing that this did just break down. So if this continues and wipes out those divergences, we could end up down towards 357.78 pretty quickly. So you got to be sure to be quick with this kind of stuff. But for now, if you're able to manage risk in some way, whether that's managing the trade or managing the position size, I don't think Tesla looks like it's gone just yet. So we'll be paying attention to this tomorrow and see if we can get some kind of confirmation. Amazon, I'm still worried about this one. We have yet to confirm the next 2-hour move higher on your MACD. You have a ton of divergences at the top, and you're even making a potential for a higher or a lower high with the rejection as of right now. And you see that kind of form there for your RSI using the signal line. So this is fine, but this just means Amazon's going to be worrisome going into a big event like earnings. Now, don't think that because this has divergence, earnings has to play out to the downside, right? We can easily see bad numbers with earnings and a crazy looking price for Amazon, and that ends up in the upward direction. Maybe that's only for a moment, but just know earnings is there to really rip you around and make everyone try to take plays on big implied volatility. And I just think that there's other things to play. So I'm not paying the most attention to Amazon. I'm looking at the chart. I'm going to look at this after earnings and then make an assessment on it. What was stated for NVIDIA to take back the 5? Well, you're going to need to make that quick divergence down here, right? We were noticing that this almost looks like a little cup with a handle, right? And we start to break down, right? We gap below it. We kind of hold this crappy pattern here, right? This almost bear flag looking stuff. And you're noticing that the 2-hour wasn't able to confirm up. So you're looking for that positive bar to get above the 9 and the 5. And then you have a chance to take out this high, potentially go find that resistance up towards 135, right? We want to look for, there's a lot of resistance is above you for something like NVIDIA. You have resistance literally here, you have it here, you have it here, you have it here, you have it here. Like you have tons of areas pretty much all throughout this gap where you could run into resistance. So this is going to be maybe an okay one if that's able to turn up. That would say that the daily chart has a good shot to try to curl up. So we'll look for it, but we have to know that rejection, if it sees positivity, looks like the most likely thing to me at this moment for NVIDIA. If this is going to continue to head in the downward direction, hey, well, that would make a little bit of sense, right? If we keep seeing these reactions below the 5, we keep just reacting to the 5 and turning back down, I mean, you're going to see lower prices for NVIDIA, but it is nice that it is holding a 2-hour divergence at this moment. Funny thing is, as NVIDIA is making that divergence on the 2-hour, we are noticing that AMD is weirdly enough showing a triple divergence right now on the 2-hour. Now, this is really interesting going into earnings because AMD has been going down for a long time, right? This has been going down for a long, long time. I mean, the last time this was at its all-time high was when? It was towards March of 2024. So this thing's been going through it. We'll see what happens with this. You have a bunch of daily divergence, but you're starting to confirm that down again, and that's just not a good thing for your MACD. So this will be a complex one, especially with earnings, but we'll see what this has to say after earnings, and then we'll take a look at it for AMD. I just wanted to show off that there is 2-hour divergence, and if that could cross up and you get good news from earnings, this thing could see a pretty decent pop for AMD. Meta, just to keep it simple, this is not looking like an opportunity to me. This is looking like something that is just trying to hold itself up, and eventually it might see that elevator move down at this point. So we'll be paying attention to a pullback still for Meta. Once again, if that's going to be sideways, well, you're getting sideways price action right now. The reason that I'm overall talking about downside is because if you get any shred of sellers to come into this, you're almost saying triple top at this point. You're saying there's tons of divergences up here. You just look how weak that RSI is, look how weak the MACD is, and you're curling down really close to the center line. So this tells me there's weakness here, and after such a strong move, you would want to see some kind of retrace in these areas. But is this overall mean like Meta's gonna fall through the floor and is absolutely dead? No, it doesn't. This just says, hey, a 2-hour could get close to that center line and then curl up into positive territory. Weirdly enough, one of the only positive stocks this morning was AMC. I know it's kind of crazy, but AMC was one of the only positive stocks, and we're still holding the 2-hour divergence at this moment. You're getting another little confirmation. We've seen a few of these before. But now you're getting it again. So this is another moment where it might make an attempt to see that cross up through the 9, through the 5, and then we could see that positivity kick in. So I would be paying attention to that for AMC if you want to see something crazy. 353 is what you really got to break through this week, which isn't too far off if this just sees a good move. So we'll see. Now, the reason we're paying attention to this is because we want daily momentum behind this, and the daily is deep into negative territory. So this easily could just go set up a lower high again, just so you are aware. So we'll pay attention to sell signals, right? This moves just like every other stock. Don't let anyone convince you differently. Manipulation will still show its face because they still have to put money forward. They have to put money behind positions. They have to assume some risk in some way. They will show up in the charts. So we are paying attention to it at this moment. And at this moment right now, I think you got a good chance if that 2 hour can cross up. I think you got a good shot of trying to see some kind of upward move for the daily, but we just know that that's the positioning right now is very negative. So this would have to be a rapid move to really see this break through 353 at this moment. If we go over to GME, once again, GME closer to the center line, that's why I like it, but you see the rejection starting to happen here. It's not a good thing overall. We're noticing that the 2 hour divergence has overall came flat with this right here, which we were saying you don't necessarily want to violate, and you really didn't want to violate this, but you're still holding the original divergence point on the RSI if you see this right here. So if we start to violate that one, then the story starts to change, and most likely any kind of upward move will be caught with some selling in it. So I'd just be paying attention to this though. If the 2 hour is able to take back the 5 strongly and we don't give it up, see a little mini head and shoulders in here. The reason that I'm paying attention to it at this point is because if something were to happen with GME, it has extremely low implied volatility. So at this moment, you only have to break through 2866 to see a good sizable move, right? A potential squeeze, right? If you get through 2866, that's where the battle begins. If the bulls can win that battle there, you might see some kind of squeeze. So the reason I'm really watching this is like if a big buyer steps in and pushes this thing up while no one expects it to push up, that's what implied volatility is telling us about GME right now. It is very low, so no one's expecting anything from it. So when the unexpected does happen, there could be a big reaction for GME. Volatility, one thing that I would really pay attention to is if the 2 hour crosses back down, right? If we get back below the 5, we don't see another reaction after maybe filling a gap, we see this 2 hour MACD actually cross, those would be big deals. The reason that I'm not overall too worried about this downward move yet, right? This still can prove to be a big downward move. You're starting to see these scoop ups and they're getting higher every single time. So we'll pay attention to it, but it doesn't mean we can't go do that again, right? So we're paying attention if the 2 hour crosses down. I think that would overall be bullish, but is that highly likely to turn down right now? The answer to that is no. We're actually more likely to see another upside move as of right now for volatility. Isn't that interesting? So as the market is going up towards the 5 to retest breakdown areas for the SPY and the Qs and retest those 5-day moving averages, you're starting to see this little floor be built for the volatility for VIX, and you're noticing, what is this? This is a positive trend and it's by the center line, so can that curl up into positive territory? Heck yes, it can. What we'll be paying attention to is if that is big and then curls right back down, right? If we start to see that 30-minute divergence, that can give us a hint as to whether or not this 2 hour is actually going to cross down, and then we can actually make a decision, and we'll probably even see a pretty strong base being built for the SPY or maybe in the futures market, so we'll be paying attention to it. Am I going to overall bet against volatility turning up? It did turn up on a daily scale as well, right? You got that daily confirmation, so you have to treat it very seriously. And then the Qs got the downward confirmation as well. So right now, the answer for me is to be patient and sit on my hands and wait and see if a strong base forms, see how they're trying to trick you throughout the week as we have earnings and a bunch of data still coming out all week long, and then really look at this towards the end of the week to possibly make a decision. And that's overall my plan at this moment. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to get these little red lines on your chart. Make sure to get the purple lines too. They're very, very helpful things. If you would like to overall join the Patreon because these purple lines are so useful, you can get the weekly expected moves for every single stock that is showing on the right side of my screen right now and a couple more. So just pay attention to that. If you're trading any of these stocks, you want weekly expected moves. It's just the calculation that we put in that gives you that 68% zone where you're most likely to land based on the options activity. So we calculate it using the options there. So join, give it a try for a month. It really will be helpful. The other thing is, hey, if you want to learn this type of stuff, right, if you're really getting ripped around, you want to try to make better decisions, take the courses down in the description, the full technical analysis course. Okay, it's only $100 right now. It's going up to $400 after tonight. So this will be your last opportunity to get it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you guys for liking, subscribing. I'm sorry I had to make it kind of on the fly here pretty quick, but tomorrow I should have some time. I'll be live with you guys in the morning and we can chat about this market starting to head in the upward direction right now in the post market. Very interesting. All right, guys, I hope you guys have a great night. Peace out.